Debbyites, we are back once again for yet another Emmy season. It's so exciting. We've got a few more days to go until the big night. And I am here with the one, the only Chris Beachum, our managing editor at Gold Derby. Chris, welcome to our, how many chats have we done now? 50, 20? I don't know. It's been a long time.
50 years of Emmy coverage. No, it's been close to 20. I met Tom O'Neill in 2001, so it's been close to 20.
Yeah, it has been close to 20 years that we have been working with Tom at Gold Derby. We are the OG editors from just different parts of the world, and here we are again, and we still look so young. Now, we're here to do 27 categories in 27 minutes. It's something that we've been doing for a long time. So, Chris, I think we should probably get started because we're already running out of time. There's a lot of pressure, but we're going to try to get through every category in 27 minutes. This is the only slugfest you need to see to make sure your predictions are up to date before the big night. Now, Chris, first of all, let's go with comedy series because I don't think there's a lot of surprises there. I think Ted Lasso's winning that in a heartbeat. What about you?
Oh, yeah, it's Ted. And I want to remind people, because since we've been doing this so many years, some categories we're just going to fly through. If there's no real discussion, like this one comedy series is Ted, Apple should be very proud. Our old friend Ralph and our friend Gina at Apple, they should be very proud of putting the. I don't know that when it debuted, we all knew it was going to be the awards juggernaut that it turned out to be. So to now be at the point of where it's not really even a mystery, that's pretty cool.
Oh, it really is, and I think it's really deserving. It's such a wonderful show. It makes me so happy. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that win. On the actress side in comedy, that I think is also a pretty locked-in prize as well for Jean Smart. What about you?
Yeah, as we got into spring and early summer, I mean, it felt like a Jean versus Kaylee smackdown in a way. Because Kaylee's been deserving of getting Emmy recognition for many, many, many years. She started as a teenager, I think. But I think Jean has cemented this now. She's such an Emmy legend, having already won, is it 3 already? And I think she's a pretty safe bet at this point.
And also, I feel a little sorry for Kaylee Cuoco because months ago I would have said she's got this in the bag and she's so wonderful in The Flight Attendant. But yeah, Jean Smart is an Emmy. She's royalty for the Emmys. And if it wasn't for Ted Lasso, Hacks would probably be winning a lot more Emmys too. So I think this is where they're going to reward Hacks. In comedy actor, speaking of Ted Lasso earlier, if you're going to give it to Ted Lasso, then I think you've got to give it to Jason Sudeikis. I can't imagine anyone else winning this over him, although I would say William H. Macy could be, like, if there had to be a spoiler, it'd be him, but I think this is Jason's in a heartbeat.
This might be the easiest of the 27. I just don't see, you've got several people here who've been in the category. Well, Keenan hasn't been in this category, but he's been over in the one that we'll talk about in a moment for SNL. And Anthony's never won, but Macy, Douglas, and Thompson have all won Emmys. I just think this is Jason's. It's going to fit the same profile as showrunners that also do everything on their show, like Donald Glover, Bill Hader, others like that recently. And I think this might be the safest category of the night.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing him win anyway. In comedy supporting actress, such a tough category in terms of the competition, but I think Hannah Waddingham is, to me, one of the best things about Ted Lasso, and I think she will take this out. She's been winning awards all year anyway. I assume you're on the same page.
It's one of the Hannahs, but I think it's pretty safe to say it's Hannah Waddingham. She has such an over-the-top, fun role. A lot of people have commented she's almost a co-lead. So I think she said, now, I think Hannah Einbiter in any other year could have taken this. I'll talk about almost being a co-lead. If they just go overboard for Hacks, that's possible. But I think this is another safe one. Now, the next one you're about to bring up is one of the hardest ones, I think, to predict of the whole night.
I know. I'm not going to say anything because I want to know what your thoughts are first.
Well, and we give all this praise to Ralph and Gina. I have totally ruled out the 4 Ted Lasso people. I just don't think we rarely see 4 from the same show in the same category. And when we do, the only time somebody takes it is when somebody kind of overwhelming, like if Hannah Waddingham was up against 3 other Ted supporting actresses. So I just don't know how they separate them. In the days of Modern Family, when this would happen, episodes mattered more. The voters would sit down and watch them, and I would pick those right every year because I would just count up the laughs over the 4 episodes. And I would go, oh, Eric's got more laughs than any of the other 3, or Ty has more laughs than any of the other 3. I think it's Keenan or Bowen, but that's my problem, is it's kind of a 50-50 between them. Do you go with the veteran who's been on SNL longer than any other cast member ever and has an Emmy, but not for acting? Or do you go with the breakout performer, Bowen, who's been all over the place campaigning? It's why I've got Paul Reiser in 3rd. He's the only one not up against competition from his own show. And
plus Carl Clemens Hopkins.
Paul Reiser, plus Kominsky's in comedy series. Paul, this is his 10th or 11th nomination, never having won. I think and he's transformational. You don't even recognize him in this role. I think he's possible. I ultimately went with Keenan, going with the veteran over Bowen. And Keenan's lead nomination, when Keenan, his show, got no other nominations, makes me feel like they want to give him something this year.
Yeah, that's very, very true. When you look at the 4 Ted Lasso actors, I think about what happened with Game of Thrones, especially in its final year, where you had all those actors nominated in the same category. When you have someone like Peter Dinklage, he really stands out amongst the supporting cast. That's not necessarily the case for Ted Lasso, although I do believe if one of them had to win, it will probably be Brett Goldstein. That being said, I've been switching between Keenan and Bowen for some time, and I'm sticking with Bowen for now. And to be honest, I am going to be nervous about that till the very last minute, because I think the Keenan argument is a good one. And Carl Clemens Hopkins is also, from Hacks. He's got no competition from his show.
That's true.
Wanted to get. So I just don't know. That's a really tough category. And that's good, because we need some categories where we're like, what's going to happen? Because so many of them seem so safe. Let's move on.
You brought up Game of Thrones, though. On the supporting actress side, remember they had 4 for its final season. And I never would pick any of the 4 because I saw so many people on our website. Some were going with this one, some were going with this one, another one. And I thought that's the very reason why I'm not going with any Game of Thrones person. They're just going to cancel each other out. Peter was a different story because he was the standout among that group. But you were about to bring up the other 2 comedies.
Yeah, let's bring up directing and writing. These are very tough because Hacks and Ted Lasso are obviously the most acclaimed comedies of the year for the Emmys, and they both have multiple nominations. I'm thinking more about directing. So what do we do about directing? Sorry, I'm talking about Ted Lasso. So Hacks is the only big show here who only has 1 nomination, and same with The Flight Attendant. Do we go with one of those, or do we go with one of the Ted Lassos where you have 3 episodes nominated in directing?
Because of the 3, I don't think they can win that. I've been wrong before. And usually when I'm wrong on those, they pick the other one that I wasn't thinking about.
Yeah.
If you think about certain shows. I think Succession last year, we all went with one thing for,
I know.
Was it writing and they went, the Emmys went with the other one. I'm going with what, it's only the branches voting for. This is not like the Oscars where at this stage, actors are voting for directing and directors are voting for production design and so forth. It's just directors. And when this same situation happened at DGA a few months ago, Flight Attendant won. So I'm going with that theory that Flight Attendant wins here because of the way DGA did the split.
It's a really impressively directed episode as well. It's very dramatic. It's very cinematic. I think you've got a point there. I'm still going with Hacks for There Is No Line, because I just think there is a lot of love and support for that show, and I think that will squeak through. But again, it could be either of. And just watch now, one of the Ted Lassos will win, completely without any reasoning. Okay, in writing, you've got 2 Ted Lassos, 1 Hacks, 1 Flight Attendant, 1 Girls 5 Ever, and 1 Pen 15. For this one, I'm going against the grain in terms of this vote splitting, and I think Ted Lasso will take it out. It should be Make America Great, great again, but I think it will be the pilot, because pilots do tend to win the writing category. What do you think?
This one I've been really debating. I ultimately landed on the pilot. I don't like the vote split because, like you said, I think the better episode is Rebecca. but pilots, just the word pilot. There's no writers' names on the ballot, by the way. It's just it'll say pilot. They tend to win. It wasn't the other Ted Lasso that was really gathering my attention. Will writers want to vote for Hacks because it's a show about it's a comedian and a comedic writer? That really intrigues me. I think it's almost a 50-50 in my mind between Hacks and the pilot of Ted.
And if my reasoning for directing makes any sense, then you've got to go with the same reasoning in writing, where Hacks is the only episode for that loved show. And it's such a steamroller in terms of its nominations across the board. So maybe it's winning that one too. That's one of the categories to watch. And that's one of the categories that will separate people out in their predictions at the end of the night. Let's move on to drama. Now, a few weeks ago, I would have said, this is The Crown, let's move on. Is The Crown maybe slightly in trouble after the Creative Arts Emmys over the weekend? What do you think?
Nope, not even remotely.
Good.
Not even considering it. I've got Mandalorian in second, but Mandalorian last year was in this same position. It won 7 Creative Arts last year. It won 7 this year. It couldn't pull off the big one. I even thought it was going to win. I think it was directing last year because of the Creative Arts wins. No, I've got Mandalorian second. I do think Handmaid's is possible, but it couldn't win anything last weekend. Pose isn't totally on the picture. It won several last weekend, but that helps. All this helps The Crown. There's not one show nibbling behind The Crown. It's several that you go, I could see this, I could see that, and that helps a front runner.
Agreed. And I was trying to make some argument for The Mandalorian, but if you think back to last year, you're right, where it's almost like a carbon copy of what happened last year. And I think The Mandalorian won't win in this category. In fact,
one I always bring up, it was years and years and years ago, but Boardwalk Empire just dominated Creative Arts. Yeah. And I would not switch over to it, unlike almost everybody on our website. And I forget what it was up against. I don't even know what the shows were that year, but I just stuck with what I thought and thought Boardwalk won basically everything we thought it would win. It didn't make any. Anyway, it reminds me of the same kind of a thing. So, what about the two lead categories? What have you got there?
Well, I think they're both going to Crown actors as well. Emma Corrin is going to, I think, win in drama actress over Elizabeth Moss and MJ Rodriguez, and her co-star Olivia Colman. And I think even Uzo Aduba, who is an Emmy magnet, will not be able to win this one. And I think Josh O'Connor is going to just squeak it out over Billy Porter. What do you think?
Exactly what I think. I think Emma got cemented in last weekend when we saw Claire Foy win. All the other Crown wins over the weekend were from other branches, but when we saw Claire win, now Charles Dance didn't win, so what did the actors really think about the Crown? But I think Emma is such a discovery. I think MJ is closer to beating her than Elizabeth Moss is. Now, The other one I think is way closer than people think. I don't know that anybody got done with the Crown and went, wow, that Josh O'Connor, he blew me away.
Not Billy as much Porter, as in the third season.
Billy Porter.
Yeah.
You know, we've already seen that they liked him 2 years or whatever the other lead win was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I could see that happening. Pose did better than we thought at Creative Arts. I don't think any of the other guys could really win, though.
Probably not, but Lovecraft Country did pretty well too, to be honest. It exceeded my expectations for nominations and its 2 wins last weekend. Jonathan Majors has become quite a name. I mean, Jenny Smollett is too, but Jonathan Majors, if there had to be a crazy surprise, I wouldn't be surprised that much if he decided, if he won, because I think this category is quite close. Josh O'Connor was a revelation in season 3. In season 4, he was wonderful, but I think you're right. People aren't losing their mind over Josh O'Connor like they are for Emma Corrin. In the supporting actress category, I'm just going for Helen Bonham Carter. Kidding. I'm going for Gillian Anderson. That is a lie.
Yeah, we've got only, 13 minutes left. So let's just say Gillian. And here's a situation where vote splitting doesn't matter. She's won everything leading up. She's been campaigning.
It's a performance of the
role. Yeah, there's just no way she loses. Now the next one, this is tough.
This one's really tough. I've decided to go with Tobias Menzies for now, but the Charles Dance loss over the weekend has given me some pause. I think Tobias Menzies is so wonderful in that show. It's so nuanced, but Oti Fagbenle is also wonderful in The Handmaid's Tale. Giancarlo Esposito could finally win and then win for The Mandalorian, which is on a roll. And the rest of them are all in the running, including someone like Bradley Whitford, another Emmy magnet. What are you going to do in this category, Chris? I'm very confused.
I really didn't know what to do until Sunday night. And then I decided if Courtney could win from the actors branch on Lovecraft, then why can't Michael K. Williams, who sadly we lost a few days ago? Fifth nomination. Now, remember, voters they were completely done at least a week before he passed away. So there's no, if he wins, it's strictly because they like that performance the best, or they like his career the best, or whatever. They had no idea when they were voting, which takes me back to a gallery you can find on our website about, they typically don't get sentimental at the Emmys over posthumous actors, at least. Anthony Bourdain was in a whole other kind of set of categories. But I think you have to go back to Raul Julia, which was over 20 years ago, to come up with an actor who's won. And I know many people switched to actors that passed away, like that voters would have known that when they were voting, like Carrie Fisher, Catherine Houston, Phil Hartman. The list goes on and on and on. John Ritter. But they just haven't. But here's a different situation because they did not know when they were voting. I don't think I would have picked Michael if Lovecraft had not won a couple of categories, especially in acting over the weekend. That makes me feel like he's got it. My second place is Giancarlo. I think here's another person who's put in his time. He's been on TV for 30 years, and they really want to give him something. I just don't know if it's this year.
Oh, it's such a tough category. It's one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most. We've got 10 minutes to go. Let's look at drama, directing, and writing. I think The Crown will win both. I think Fairy Tale in directing, War in writing. I just think that's a done deal for The Crown. What do you think?
That's what I have. That wasn't easy either. I had The Mandalorian forever in directing, but I remembered last year I had it and it didn't win. So I think Fairy Tale would win over War, especially Fairy Tale won some creative arts this weekend. And then War is the only Crown episode for writing, so that helps it. Don't be shocked if Pose wins one of these two. We've seen some series finales win either directing or writing in recent years. I wouldn't be stunned if it did. I think it's in second in both.
And I've got to also remind people that Bridgerton won the DGA for that particular episode, the pilot. If there's going to be a surprise and people do love that show, then that could also happen as well. Okay, let's move on to limited series. These are a little bit tough, but I think the Creative Arts Emmys did kind of explain a few things for us in terms of what might be up front. I've had WandaVision for a very long time. I moved Queen's Gambit up into the first place like most people probably have done. Are you in the same boat?
Absolutely not looking back. It won almost everything it could win over the weekend, even things that we didn't expect. So I think this might be the best 5 limited series they've ever nominated in one single year.
Yeah, it's
any one of them could have won in another year.
It's some of it. I think this could be an Oscar race. It's just such quality. In actress, I had Kate Winslet for a very long time. Michaela Cole, I switched over a few times, but now I'm going with Anya Taylor-Joy.
Same reasoning. I just think they're giving Queen's Gambit, it's almost in sweep mode, and it could break a tie or break the record, I think, of John Adams. So if it were to win the ones we're talking about, plus another one or two. So I thought, I never looked back from Kate ever since Mare debuted in the spring, but just after Saturday and Sunday, I thought it's Anya. It's obviously Anya.
Yeah, and I'm so impressed that show.
I should say Anya. Riley will get all over it.
Yeah, we've been told it's Anya. I'm impressed with that show that it maintained its buzz for so long. It's still the front runner. Okay, so we have 6 minutes. Let's move on. Actor is difficult. Most people seem to be still predicting Paul Bettany. I'm going with a surprise here. And going with Hugh Grant for The Undoing, just like what Mark Ruffalo was able to do previously for whatever that movie was called, that series was called.
You broke my surprise. I think it's one of two people. I do think it's Paul Bettany or Hugh Grant. I just started thinking about Mark Ruffalo and how ultimately you can't always go by who's got the most nominations, which project, what was the best received. I just remember when The Undoing was airing, and for weeks after it was over, everybody was talking about Hugh Grant. And Paul Bettany, I think, is in first in our odds more because we've had a huge Marvel contingent coming in, I think. Now, Paul's going to get the benefit of also anybody that saw him in Uncle Frank and goes, wow, he had a great year.
It's wonderful.
I just think the Hamilton guys, there's a tiny bit of backlash going on in terms of this being eligible at the Emmys. And one of our editors told me today he's going with Ewan McGregor, but I just don't buy it.
No, I don't buy Holston.
It's Hugh or Paul, I think, and I'm going with Hugh as well.
Yeah, and wonderful because he's so overdue. In supporting actress, the two Mare of Easttowns, Julianne Nicholson, Jean Smart, probably helped Catherine Hahn, who was probably the pop cultural favorite of this season. And I really do hope that she does win that Emmy, and I'm still going for her. Moses Ingram could be a surprise given she's in the Queen's Gambit, though.
I've got Catherine Hahn in first. I almost moved Moses Ingram into first because of this Queen's Gambit sweep mentality going. She has no competition from her own show, neither does Catherine, but I hope it is Catherine. Catherine has been impressing people for a long time. And so I'm hoping that all that combined together helps her out. And let me just, because you broke the surprise a moment ago, and supporting actor, I don't think it's who everybody is predicting in our prediction center. I don't think it's Evan Peters, as much as we like him, and we like him personally. He does a lot of stuff for Gold Derby. I don't buy the Hamilton guys as much. There's three of them. I've moved Thomas Brody Sangster into first because of the sweep.
Listen, I think that's a really good call. I've got him in second and he is such an important part of that series. I still have Evan Peters because he completely and utterly broke my heart, and I just cannot. I'm happy to lose on that one if he doesn't win. And Papa Essiedu is he's
in my second place.
Yeah,
that's going to be the person that they might look at and go, "We've never heard of you before this year, and wow, you wowed us."
Yes,
it's possible. He's so charming. He comes from we had him on a breakthrough actors panel, and he comes from a Shakespearean background. I mean, all of that is going to, I think, help him. But I go with Thomas. Thomas is somebody they've been watching since he was in Love Actually and was a kid. So it's not like he's just broken on the scene. Really quick, because I know we got 5 minutes. Directing, I went Queen's Gambit on both, directing and writing. I just think it's too much of a sweep.
WandaVision could have maybe had directing, and maybe I May Destroy You could have had writing, but I think it's Gambit. Competition program, RuPaul once again, and deservedly so. What about talk series?
It's John Oliver. You can't.
Has to be.
Even if you're wrong, you can't mess up your predictions by throwing a dart and trying to figure out what else they might. I've got Trevor Noah in second because I think people really have appreciated the work he's done. This really tough last year, and I've got SNL and sketch series. I don't think that's the wipeout that it often is, because I think Black Lady Sketch Show winning a Creative Arts Award, but SNL won a whole lot of Creative Arts Awards, so I don't think there's any downside to picking them this time.
Yeah, and then Variety Special recorded. I think. Oh my
goodness, this is tough.
It's tough. I think Bo Burnham Inside will take it off Hamilton, but this is one of the best categories. West Wing Special.
This is why they moved it. It's never been on the prime time under this name. It's going to be Bo Burnham or Hamilton. The others are deserving. That West Wing Special was phenomenal. Friends was phenomenal. American Utopia won Emmys over the weekend. Chappelle. They often go with Dave Chappelle. I just look back at Hamilton and think it was 14 months ago. In reality, it was 5 or 6 years ago. And Bo just aired in May, and it feels like, to use a film analogy, it feels like when Parasite took off and was a word of mouth. It wasn't like a forced on you. People just started talking about it like they discovered it themselves. And I think people feel like they discovered the Bo Burnham Special themselves, and they're going to go that route. And the fact that he won directing over the weekend, which really everybody expected him to win writing.
Yeah,
hardly anybody predicted him for directing, and I think that's the telltale sign here.
it definitely. When Hamilton came out on Disney Plus, it was quite a phenomenon for a lot of people who had not seen it on Broadway. And during the pandemic, we're all at home. So I think there's still some love for that. But this Bo Burnham thing, he's all over TikTok and Instagram, and people just love the songs. He's winning, and deservedly so. The final category for our particular chat is writing in a variety series. Will Last Week Tonight win that again? Will they ever not win? It's kind of boring now.
Oh, you got to go with John Oliver there. They did add a category if you want to give us a quick pick on the variety special live for this.
Oh, this, of course.
For this, it was supposed to be last weekend, but they moved it. I've got Celebrating America. I'm not 100% confident on it, but I don't think the Oscars were one of their better Oscars. The Grammys was one of the best produced award shows in all of the pandemic year and a half. I wouldn't mind that winning at all. Super Bowl halftime gets in here, but it never wins. And Colbert, I don't know. I think Celebrating America really has some big names behind it, and I think that could win.
Yeah, I think that's tough. I'm going with the Grammys because I was just so impressed with that ceremony, and I usually find the Grammys so boring. That one was incredible.
Visually and musically, it was just a stunning show to watch. I hope the Emmys do as well this weekend on the production.
Me too.
Just as we record this, can you believe they've announced 48 presenters already, and it's only Wednesday as we record? They're supposed to announce some more Thursday and Friday. My feeling is they're announcing them in just these huge, massive announcements, and the sheer numbers, because if there are any nominees on the fence about coming, this is my theory, they're trying to prove in bulk, hey, all the stars, all the big names are coming out just as presenters, not even nominated. We want you here. We need you here. And it's going to be, I think, back to the old days of Emmy and big award show kind of coverage. I hope so, at least.
So excited.
I hope it's a fun show this weekend.
We really need it, don't we? We need something really fun. Well, mate, we've got the 27 minutes. Let's wrap this up. Thanks again for joining me.
Well, thank you. And our live shows are this weekend. We'll have a pre-show with Rob hosting the 2 hours prior with everybody's predictions. And then the post-show, all this stuff we talked about. Most of it's not going to happen. So the surprises will be fun as Matt Noble hosts that show. But you got to get in and get your predictions in the next, 72 hours or so, because you can win the contest. You can beat over 4,000, 5,000 people around the world, including us. So get your predictions in, and thank you for watching.